Hello, dear students. How are you? I think you all are fine. Students, in this video, I am going to discuss Norman Conquest. Students, by now I have discussed it was the period of Anglo-Saxon which was there in England. So there was a province in France. Its name was Normandy. And the native men of Normandy were called Normans. Once in 1066 it was the period. William the Duke of Normandy has invaded England. He has attacked, and by the force and power he has invaded, and he has defeated the King of England Harold, who was there ruling at that time. And by now England has become the place of Normans. Students, William the Duke of Normandy appointed his representative in England to control and rule, and he returned again to his province Normandy of France. But those Norman men brought first time French language in England. Earlier, no any legal language, special language, or we can say a national language. So no national language was there in England at that time. Only dialects were there. Anglo-Saxon language was there. So by now, the language, a new language which came in England, it was French language. Students, in the period of Normans, French language and Italian language. Here I want to add that mostly the French language became the official language of England. Means in schools, in courts, even in parliament, the language which was there, it was French language. But in public life, in common areas, in common men, the language which was there, so actually English, but not this English what is today. This English was not there. Actually English was divided at that time in dialects. So those dialects were there in the common men. These dialects were Northern, Southern, East Midland and West Midland. These four dialects, dialects means boli that you get. Language means bhasha, and dialects means boli. So at that time language was not there. English was not, we can say that English was not there as a language, but English was as a dialect at that time. The language which was there, it was French language, students. So at that time four dialects were there: East Midland, West Midland, Northern and Southern. Here in among these four dialects, East Midland was very significant dialect, because this was the dialect which was spoken by the king. Even king himself used to speak East Midland. Dear students, by and by, it was the time of I think 1204, when Norman people which were there in France, they have realized that we have just not safe here. So better for us to move totally in England. So they have totally migrated in England, and they have accepted, means Norman has accepted England as their original and own nation. Now they have started developing here, and these dialects just intermingled with Latin, with French. Actually, all the dialects and language were just amalgamated, and one important language, because East Midland, especially what about I have discussed, East Midland was the language of the common man, dialect of the common man. That's why this language became more and more popular in England by and by. It has several words, the words of few words of Latin language, few words of French language, few words of Anglo-Saxon period. Means this was the mixture, and even the research says that in modern English, what English we have today, so more than 27% words are from Latin and other from French. So means English what you have today, this is the mixture of different languages. So by the process, East Midland became very popular language, and by the people and authorities have started accepting this East Midland dialect as the language. And its development you can understand in this way कि in the 1350, it was the time of 1350, when this East Midland dialect became the language of schools. Just you can note down, my dear students, in 1350 your dialect East Midland became the language of school. After some time, after 10 years, 12 years, in 1362 it was accepted even in courts. The practices of courts just taken East Midland in the form of English as their language. Students, now East Midland is being converted into English, and finally in 1369, it was the time of 1369 when totally this East Midland converted into English, and students, it became the language of parliament. In this way, English became a systematic language, the most popular language and the accepted language of England from a dialect East Midland. Students, one thing I want to add here, that I have told you that in schools East Midland language came in 1350, and one thing you should remember, you must have in your mind, that Chaucer was born in 1340. It means Chaucer was elder than English. You must have in your mind that Chaucer was elder than English. Students, in this way, English became the systematic language, and this is the birth of English. And in short, I have discussed the period of Norman Conquest and the birth of English. One thing that you must have in your mind, this was the period when English became the systematic language of England. It was the reign of Edward III. Edward III was the king at that time in England. So from the next video, I will start, in the next video, students, I want to remind you, in the next video, I will start the Chaucer. The Chaucer, I am telling you students, generally before the noun the is not used, but I am saying the Chaucer because Chaucer is the father of English poetry, and he is the most significant poet of English literature. So students, in the next video, the age of Chaucer will be started, and I think that will be very beneficial not only for the MA previous students but also for the MA final year students. Thank you very much.